You may not want a blowout or a blowout and an additional heat press just to get a trim. Because a lot of you are not wearing your hair straight, and that's not what you plan to do. So we do wet and moist here. We also can do air dry trims. We can go over the areas of your scalp where you need to do the most massage. So right now this is a Renaissance trim, 45 cuts on my concept. This one's actually being done with black soap in my client's hair. This is what I chose for today. I usually do the trims in a classic deep, but I like the way the black soap feels in her hair and the slip. Some of you don't like slip or wet hands for styling. I actually love it. I know there's some of you who do also love it. And then what I do for my client here is in any area where there might have been new growth hair from previous breakage, or breakage, press into that point for the areas of massage to focus on when not in studio. And I know to focus on those areas at the wash bowl, and so that we're not taking off too much, because the trim is an inch or less. It is a spiraling technique. So it's a spiraling technique. And I have 5 cuts in 9 sections. You can certify with me in this. It's a great way to do a trim. Everybody loves these. Remember, we also do tapers and all types of angled cuts and bobs as well. Even had an Edward Scissorhands request a few months back where that client wanted me to just shape her hair on her air dry. I couldn't believe it, but I did it. She said nobody else would help her when she described it, and I understood what she wanted. It was just a very unique request. But it was actually fun to sit back and cut the sections and then have her check the mirror to see that she liked it. And I was able to give her what she wanted. Now, that's 5 cuts in one area, an estimate of an inch. Straight hair cutting is done a little bit differently, but you can reserve here for this. I'm going to turn you to the left a little bit. There we go. Oh, maybe to the right. Yeah, let me go for the top. Yeah, there we go. Is that your arm? Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. I'm going for the tops. I have 2 sections left out of 9. And cutting ends does not make you grow. It's just necessary because the ends are the oldest part of the hair. And depending on how you plan to do your styling, over time, the growth you want, when you're actually going to work in your hair when it's not in braids, twists, or extensions, you don't want to have scraggly ends. I do not force clients to cut or trim. I give the real deal on what's needed and explain how the styling is done, what can be done, and what the benefits would be for them if they were to decide to do a trim that is needed. And some people actually need a cut, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches. If you don't want to do that, I'm not going to make you do it. But one of my jobs is to let you know how to work, and if you're wearing your hair out, how much better it would look to not have the scraggly ends. Now, we're going into an extension session after this, but it's really good to have your hair grow, your black soap, your classic deep in trim at your extensions install. We got 1, 2, this is 3, and then 4 and 5. Know your client's scalp and head. And again, I'm not purposely all close in front of the mirror, or backdrop, because you need to come in and train with me, and you can see it close up, right? Get your certification. See it close up, get your certification, get your training. Now, because of how I did the parts and what I see in certain areas, I'm gonna have a little discussion with my client off camera about a few more cuts that I wanna make in addition to the 45. Sometimes that happens. But a Renaissance is 45 cuts, a classic is 21 cuts. And based on your hair texture, density, length, and type, the determination is really made of like how much hair is really coming off. If you have a lot of disparities in your growth pattern, I'm really gonna suggest, if you wanna keep more hair on your head, you do more cuts than less. But you can also do a balancing cut. That's an option too. A balancing cut is different. We're trying to make everything the same length. We'll be back.